Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. More, hate less, read comics. It's Blake's Buzz Live.
Buzz, buzz, babies.
Buzz, buzz, babies. I haven't heard that song in a while because I took a break and then COVID broke me, and then now I'm back just trying to remember how to do all this shit. It's kind of like riding a bike. It's hard to you can fall off, pick yourself back up pretty easy. Plus, I don't know how to shut up. Anyway, speaking of that, I haven't even introduced my guest yet. I'm just rambling on. With me tonight is Mair Lowery, second time joining the show. The last time he was on the show was for the same reason he's on the show this time. He is out repping his just really awesome science fiction anthology called ThoughtScape Comics, which is just mind-opening, mind-bending, and mind-altering. The three of my favorite things, right? It's just, I like when my comic books feel like I ate drugs, and after I get done with them, I'm not really sure what to think about life anymore. And that's what your science fiction does. Super stoked to have you back on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. The stakes are high. Like it's a high profile campaign, and it's like we talked about earlier, you got a decent chunk of money, still got some, still got a ways to go with what, like, is it 4 days left now?
I'm not sure how Kickstarter counts. It says 3. I think it's 3 like full days left.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a lot can happen in 72 hours,
True.
And then you get that, that final 48-hour bump of like everybody sitting around watching it.
Yep.
So yeah, you're just shy of $11,200 for 15.5.
Yes.
So you're at 75%, right?
I think
right
so.
There.
I'm pretty bad at math, but I think
same. I don't know why I did that to myself. I should have just went with 3/4 and stopped.
We're at 72%.
72.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Maybe I am good at math. Maybe
that was pretty close. That's way closer than I would have gotten.
But yeah, I'm excited. I've read the first 2 issues. Now, one of my favorite bits, I have lots of favorite bits, but one of them is the self-titled comic in the ThoughtScape, the actual ThoughtScape.
Yep.
Will this third issue wrap that up, or is that going to be like a long form story?
No, it's pretty long form. So we've got 2 serials in the series, ThoughtScape 2319, which you're talking about, which is sort of an alien based, or alien, maybe slightly derivative but different sort of story about deep space action and intrigue. And so that is the first arc of that I've got kind of planned for like 8 parts. Okay. So the hope is that we get to do 8 parts, and I've got that much pretty much scripted out, and then my vision for both this serialized stories, ThoughtScape 2319 and Ex Post Facto, with artist Carl Slominski and Dave Laws on ThoughtScape 2319, was to be able to work with those guys sort of ongoing and really like develop something that had some legs and went for a while.
Nice.
And 2319 was also sort of modeled after Rogue Trooper in 2000 AD, like kind of just an ongoing, like discovering new things about the ThoughtScape. It was sort of a way to sort of see how the overall notion of the ThoughtScape permeates at like a real ground level. So I've got tons of stuff there for that. And I just finished up the script for part 5 of that, and really hope we can get to it because it's got some crazy stuff in it.
Very cool. Yeah, Carl's art is fucking so good. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I tweeted about it the other day when they put some new Lady Mayhem colored pages out, and I was like, I'm so stoked for that book, and I've been stoked for it. And I was really sad, like, a lot of people have talked about leaving Twitter, but I feel like most everyone has stayed. And I tried to tag him and Jenna and noticed that they had canceled their Twitter. And so I actually like took a screenshot of my tweet and sent it to him on Instagram.
Nice.
I was like, dude, those pages look so good. Oh my God. And I was bummed I couldn't tag you guys. And he was like, yeah, I can't deal with that bullshit anymore. And I was like, yeah, I feel the same. I give him $8 a month now. I was like, I'm that asshole. Like,
no, that's cool. Yeah, he and I just released a podcast of he and I just kind of talking about things on the ThoughtScape podcast that I've been doing for the campaign, and yeah, we talked about the Twitter business quite a bit. No, he's sticking to his guns on that.
Yeah,
good for him.
And he's that kind of guy though, right? He's not a fuck around and find out guy. He's like a fuck around and fuck around some more. You know, like he's already found it out in his own way. I want to talk more about marketing, but real quick, I just want to say thanks. Yeah, thanks. You promised me comics for leaving a comment saying you weren't going to watch the show. Really appreciate that, bud. Thanks for tuning in. You were on Sparks' show, right?
Yeah, totally. He's done his part for the movement.
He's good. He's good people. I like him. He's one of the few. I'm getting really into manga. Like I'm threatening to just leave comic book discourse and go right into full weeb territory. No, that's not true. I'm on way too many press lists to quit now. But I love it, and it's like I just got hooked up with Titan, and like they actually sent me some manga to check out and read, and like and anyways, I love it. I'm reading Dragon Ball, and like I don't know what it is about me, but like manga box sets, like I'll have like $120 in my bank account and be like, oh, that's 110. We should get it. Like that's a good price. We should. It's like I don't know. You put little tiny books in a big box, and I'm just like, I have to have it. I need that.
They do a good job of packaging that stuff up.
And it's so much like when you think about like $10 a volume plus tax, like you really are getting a solid deal when you buy these box sets. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, that's he's one of the few. I mean, there's a handful of guys out there that was my dog. He's having separation anxiety because his parents are gone. So I can't. If I shut him out, he's gonna bark, and if I let him sit behind me, he's gonna moan and act weird. So I don't know what the better one is, but you know, he's cute. He's cute. You can't stay mad at him. But anyways, Sparks really likes manga too, and I'm trying really hard, ladies and gentlemen, to get a crew together, and people keep saying they're interested, but not like all the time. So like it may be like partial guest hosts here and then, but I really want to do an Unbelievable podcast where we talk about anime and mainstream manga, because I've been into it for about a year and I'm loving it. And I would love to find people like me that are kind of dumb, right? And like, oh, I've heard of Junji Ito. Like, yeah, like there's other horror writers in manga too, right? Like, let's talk about, you know, it'd be really cool to, you know, big hardcore manga heads. Like I couldn't compete with that, right? But like I said, people like me to kind of introduce them to, there's so many comics people that are like, it's not for me. And I'm like, it's fucking comics and it's good. Anyways, Matt's a big manga writer, which we'll talk about. That's what it's not why he came on the show. He did not come on to talk manga. But like you're doing a lot more marketing, I feel like this time with ThoughtScape. You had a push just for before the campaign went live, like you wanted 150 backers signed up and ready to go. I thought that was really cool. You've got a Discord going. You've had your Substack going for a while. So you got your Substack. Now you're doing a new podcast about a ThoughtScape podcast, and dealing with a lot of weirdos like me. And so like how's that going? Like, are you thinking? Because I don't want to like bring up bad memories, but you know, you were on Zoop the last time, and that didn't go like you wanted, you know. And now you've come back to Kickstarter with a bigger campaign and another book. Issues 1, 2, and 3 are up for grabs now. Yep. And you know, a pretty big goal, which you know you've got a lot of high quality artists to pay, so I understand why that money is the way it is. But how do you feel you're doing for like marketing as you know, compared to what you've, you know, learned, you know, over the last couple of years?
Yeah. I mean, I think this time it was really important to me so the Zoop thing was an interesting thing to try, but it definitely had some pain points to it, just in terms of the transition and I guess the outcome, obviously.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to make sure that if I went for it again on Kickstarter, that I had a good time and that having sort of fun was the focus, and
Mm.
that led me to doing the podcast. And really like connecting with the people I collaborated with on all the stories, and in some cases having like our first sort of voice to voice discussion
Oh, cool.
after just, emailing back and forth and everything, doing the actual work. So I tried to make sure that everything I did, aside from the social media stuff, which is sort of just the somewhat necessary evil, was fun. And, talking to you, talking to Sparks, talking to everybody that I've been on with so far, I've had like really great conversations. And I wanted to just try to focus on that and not let myself get sort of sucked into too much into like the campaign mechanics every day, So that was important to me. And then I just have so much awesome art to work with from now like 3 volumes of this thing. And I've actually got, the 4th one is almost all done. Carl's working right now on part 4 of our story. And like you said, Carl's a beast. Every page he turns in is amazing and could be
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
drive
good.
a campaign on its own. So I wanted to, I was having fun sharing all that stuff on Substack and even online, even on Twitter a little bit of fun, maybe.
No one has fun on Twitter anymore, Matt.
But I'm an iconoclast. I want to recall the glory days. Yeah. So I just mostly wanted to like kind of turn it into a little indie comics party, and that way, if the campaign doesn't succeed and I have to vanish into the ether, then like we've got these discussions that I did on the podcast with all the artists, and there's some kind of little thing left over from all this, which sharing the awesome art that I've got was a big part of why I started this project in the first place. So yeah, I think that's it. And I mean, it seems like it's going. I had no idea what to expect with the way Twitter is now. I saw a tweet today. Somebody said like, does anybody have a Kickstarter going? I haven't seen anything for a while. And I'm like, what? Like, I've just been tweeting nonstop for 4 weeks. Like, how is this possible? So not knowing what was happening in the social media area, I was really not sure how this would go. So I think like it went kind of right down the middle, right? Like we didn't go gangbusters, and we didn't just die like before we even took off. So I don't know. I guess it remains to be seen. It seems like it's possible that we might pull it off, possible that we don't, but I don't know. Hopefully some of these artists got in front of some new people. That would really be my one of my big goals for sure. So
yeah, it's impossible. I love your writing, and I read some of these stories, like I said, and they're great. But the art, I mean, like, when you see snippets of the art, it's you can't ignore it. Real quick, just want to shout out some people in the chat. We got Geek Collective. What's up? We're doing well, man. Mr. John Westhoff's up in here. Friday night comic fight. Hey, don't bring that here, man. I'll take you to a pine car derby race and graphite you down the slopes, buddy. We were talking. John's a comic creator and likes me for some reason. And we were on Facebook. He tweeted pictures of the Scout, like the pine car derby races, and he was like, I think my kid's mad because I built him the slowest car in the world. And it was so funny. I was dying. And I remember like when I was a kid and my dad like helped me build my car and like did all this stuff, and like dude, my dad was like a bartender at this Knights of Columbus Hall when I was a kid, before he started doing like mainstream bartending. And these old timers, man, they're all talking about like putting like water packets in the cars, so like the water like pushes the car, like all these ways to like cheat at a fucking Scout pine car derby race, right? And I remember we bought like graphite, and you like spray the axles with graphite and the wheels spin better. But it's like it's not illegal, and when I was a kid, it wasn't illegal. I talked to John about it, and John was like, well, on page 12, line 8 of the rule book, it says graphite's against the law. So I don't know, man. Anyways, you get older, things change. But yeah, anyways, that was That's John Westhoff, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let him build your race cars; he'll fail you. Another creator's in the chat. What's up, Milton? Sports manga that I haven't read. I haven't done a lot of slice of life. I'm like big action and crazy mainstream stuff. Like I said, I'm reading one of the most iconic ones right now, Dragon Ball, and I also have Dragon Ball Z to follow. I bought Dragon Ball Z, read the first volume, and they kind of talk about what happened in Dragon Ball, and I was like, I got to go back and read Dragon Ball. So then I bought Dragon Ball, and I'm reading that. And then yeah. So anyways, we should talk Milton, and we were going to talk anyway because he's got stuff coming out this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Promote, so, and then what's up, Katie? Oh my God, thanks for tuning in. It's good to see you. Super Comic Bros, Buzz, baby. That's right. What's up? They got a new channel. You guys should check it out. Twitter is nerfed.
Indeed.
I will say, like, I know people make fun of me for it, but like, I won't lie. Like, my numbers and my metrics were not what they used to be, and it was freaking me out. And paying that $8, I mean, not a magical cure-all change difference, but it's helping little by little. So I'm hoping. I don't know. Maybe I just, I don't know. It's $8. What else?
Yeah.
What's another subscription service when you have them all, right? Who cares? But Katie, thanks for tuning in. Friday night graphite fight. Yeah. It's gonna be like the baby oil kiddie pool fight, but way worse, and no one will tune in. And then like, oh God, can you imagine like the places you get sand if you like rolled around in graphite? That just doesn't sound. It's a bad idea, John. Don't come in here with that shit, man. We're trying to promote Matt's Kickstarter, not get naked in kiddie pools with graphite. What's going on?
It's a whole other type of book.
On that note, if y'all got money to spend, I suggest you head over to Kickstarter, and help a man, compete or complete his dreams. This is one of the coolest things I thought. I had a great time talking to Matt. He's got this other comic called Life Formed that's really great that I fell in love with instantaneously. It's like it's a rough all ages book, right? Because it gets kind of intense sometimes, but it is adaptable to the tinier audiences. But I keep reading like all ages and like comics and a couple like children's narrative comics every now and then. They always make me fucking cry, man. Like I feel like when you slap all ages on it, that just means it's gonna make you cry. And then which also then that gets interesting too, because I'm like 37 and I'm like, okay, so like kids handle emotions better than me. Okay, that probably checks out because I don't handle emotions well. But like, like it's like what are we like putting these kids through for some reason in these all ages comics? Like they're very intense.
Yeah, it's I definitely wanted that with Life Formed, like to I guess tap into, like when I was growing up reading comics, we were just like 10 or 9 and picking up X-Men, right? Like, and nobody was I guess gating us from the more melodramatic or dramatic aspects of that. And so I really wanted to kind of like get into the complicated emotions of that, and coupling that with like my experiences as a parent, and then like talking to my kids about their experiences as kids and everything, and like kind of put all that together into something that was I guess, especially when I was writing the first book, I was really into the notion that like you could translate more real life experiences to comics than I was seeing, especially in some of the YA stuff. And I mean, I was writing that in like 2012, but like,
wow.
So it was a long time ago, but so there weren't as many options there at that time, but there are, as there are now. So I really wanted to just kind of lean into like the emotions and, dealing with grief and, just all the complicated stuff that like when I was reading X-Men, I feel like some of those concepts were sort of introduced to me in those comics. Right. And it was a little bit, beyond my abilities to process at that point, but I feel like it exposed me to that stuff and sort of helped me get to understand it. Whereas like if you neuter that stuff too much, then like kids don't have their gateway into it, I guess, is sort of how I felt about it. So so it's like rough, but then we've also got like the humor in there, and we've got the action in there, and so it's trying to be
Oh
like kind
yeah.
of a well-rounded thing, right?
Yeah,
So
it's not just like a cry fest by any
yeah,
means,
yeah,
but there's definitely some gut punch moments, and for both sides, like from sadness and like character development and strong character moments, and where like that's one of the that's one of the things I like about dystopic stories that not everybody does well is when like that good thing happens that you don't not like the
right,
overarching good thing, right? Like not like we're at the end, we made it to the last safe city ever and they have the zombie cure and everybody's
right,
fine, right? But like, you know, when you're in the middle of when you're on the way to that final destination and it's harder to put one foot in front of the other and you think you're going to die, you don't think you're going to make it, you don't think anything matters, and then when something good happens there, like and
yeah,
feels like very real and matter of fact, and like you just really made that scene happen. I don't, not a lot of writers get that right. You did in Life Formed, and you
well,
did. There's a
thanks.
couple instances of that, and yes. Anyways, I love, and another sci-fi book because Matt's pretty good at writing sci-fi. So, yeah, that's the, and you can get both volumes if you back this book right
You
here.
can,
He's
you
and he's
can.
teaming with a few other you released or you talked about like a horror prose anthology package today, right?
Yeah, so we've got so you can get both volumes of Life Form. So if you pick up Life Formed and all three ThoughtScape comics, you're getting like 550 pages of stuff. So
Yeah,
that's a nice package
a
right
lot of
there.
content.
Yeah, totally. And
Each
there's
Thoughtscape book's like what 52 pages.
yeah, like yeah, anywhere from like 52 to 60 pretty
Oh,
much.
okay.
I'm
I
gonna
was
bump
wondering
out
if you were stopping at 52 on purpose to like pay homage to the DC multiverse.
no, no,
I
that's
was like, "Are
purely
you that kind of fucking nerd?" Like, and I
no.
was like, He might be that kind of nerd."
I mean, I would know the reference, but no, that was mostly a function of just how much. Basically, like each issue of Sotscape has 4 stories, and it's however
Mm,
long the stories decide they are, and how much I can afford to do art wise.
yeah.
It kind of dictates that. But yeah, we've got as add-on rewards, you can get from Tenebrous Press. They're a new Portland like horror imprint. They've been around for a few years, but they're just kicking out awesome stuff all the time. They have 3 prose anthologies that you can add on to your Thoughtscape pledge, basically. And if you don't need to do this, but if folks scroll all the way toward the bottom, I've got a section for all the add-ons. There's commissions from Carl, Dave, and Jeremy Brooks. There's the Tenebrous Press bundle. There is a speculative relationships bundle. That's an anthology that Thoughtscape contributor Tyrell Cannon put together a while back. There's 3 volumes of that. Corridor Magazine, which was a Kickstarter project couple years back. It's a great 96-page horror magazine. And Spectral from Dave Acampo and Chris Anderson is a new graphic novel horror story collection that is available as well. So you can really, and hopefully you might, pack your order full of these add-ons to help us reach our goal, which is a ways away at this point. Yeah, so I really wanted, like I said, I wanted this to be kind of like a party celebration of everybody's stuff, get new eyes on stuff for folks, and help spread the word on some other awesome projects as well.
So does hooking up with all these other people and selling their product within your own Kickstarter, does this turn into a shipping clusterfuck, or is it just is it actually kind of like not that big a deal and maybe like widens your audience at
It's
an easy cost?
yeah. So basically, like half of these, well, most of these folks are Thoughtscape contributors in one way or another. So
Okay.
the Tenebrous guy, Matt Blairstone, the Christian from Corridor, David Campo, we've kind of been advising is too strong, but we've sort of been a support group for each other out here in Portland. So we're all local. So shipping wise, that's not much of an issue. I can just go pick these things up from those guys and get them sent
Oh,
off.
that's dope. Okay.
And then, Tyrell, I've worked with for a while. And so we've got that worked out. So no, it shouldn't be too bad. And I think like, I don't know. I know I would be stoked to like get a package in the mail one day with like 3 comics and 3 books in it, and like a bunch of
Yeah.
killer cover art, like you can see here with the Tenebris stuff. So yeah, no, hopefully it should just all be good. And then if you get a commission, that's going to come straight from the artist. So you get your comics and stuff for me, and then a commission would come from Carl, Dave, or Jeremy. And I've been running my own business for a long time. I used to do shipping in the software industry, so like all that kind of stuff is just sort of stuff I'm really used to. Not too daunting. All that. So
what is real quick? Adorable Orphans was a single issue.
Well, so this is sort of a collectible, I will never reprint this again thing. So in the first, before ThoughtScape was conceived of, I had Adorable Orphans and Drones, which is a story that's in ThoughtScape #2.
That's great.
And I had those like done and printed up, and I was going to take them to Emerald City in 2020 to just sell them on the table beside Lifeformed. And then of course that con didn't happen for pandemic reasons.
Yeah.
So I had a stack of like 50 of all these different or of those 2 books. And in the first Kickstarter, I offered Drones, those one-off printings of Drones, and now I'm offering the one-off of Adorable Orphans. So it's just like a, simple, that story is pretty short, 10 to 12 pages. And it's got also a backup of the first 5 pages of Lisa's Taking Back Toku, which is like a manga influenced monster story. So it's kind of like, I had it as something I was going to sell on the table for a few bucks, and thought I'd get those into people's hands during this.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's a solid. That's essentially like an ash can, technically, but with the whole story in it, I guess.
Yes, yeah, pretty much, and it's like full size.
So not an ash can, I guess.
Well, but it's
pretty much like an ash can, but different in every way.
Size different, but functionally like an ash can.
Well, that's the good thing, right? Is it's all about the function. All right, size isn't everything, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
It's about the function of the printed product. And then this book, I actually love that Orphans comic. It's so twisted, and then it's funny because you think about it more and more. And when I reread it, knowing we were going to talk, I was like, I wonder if is it the dad's mom or the mom's mom, right? And then I was like, wait, it doesn't matter because she fucking killed them both. I was like, wait a second. I was like, this is the worst grandma ever.
Yes.
So it just like keeps kind of hitting you. And sorry, slight spoiler alerts, but this comic came out a long time ago. So
yes,
it's there's so much more to find in the pages of ThoughtScape 1 and 2 than what I just said. But anyway.
Well, and hopefully, like, I mean, all these stories, like, I don't know, a few people have talked about different things, and I guess it's spoilery, but like my hope is that with each story, there's like multiple little twists in it. So like, even the penultimate twist or the ultimate twists or whatever, it's like, well, I mean, like if my story's not sort of like surprising you on each page, then it's not really doing its job anyway. And
ThoughtScape does that very much. Like it always gets you in different, whether, and it's kind of not fair to other writers out there, right? Because you do a great job writing, but even if you want to get lazy for a page, like you have like this art to fall back on, and I'm not, and I mean that like in no offense, because it's every page is wonderful, but it's just like, you don't see that a lot on Kickstarter, especially with anthology work. Like in anthology stuff, like some stuff is really good, right? And some stuff's kind of okay, and some stuff's like they knew somebody, like it's very like it fluctuates big time, and this doesn't at all. Like the different styles and artists that you use, like you are so like you have curated your creative list, like it's like chef's kiss, man. Like it's absolute perfection. Like and especially like how they fit into each story and what the artist brings in different levels, and the emotions that like brings to the
Yeah.
surface too. Like so cool.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely something I was going for, and I like. Yeah, I think that it was important to me. Like, it's hard, making comics is hard, no matter who you make them with.
Yeah.
And
Even yourself.
so even yourself, maybe especially yourself. So I don't know, like, so paying a little bit higher page rate, and having it take a little bit longer or whatever, like, to me, like, you've got to get the best art possible, because ultimately comics is the art to me,
Yeah.
as good as the writing might be, right? So I think that it's worth it, and yeah, and I mean, I hope that is something that comes across, and definitely, and like, helps people maybe justify the amount you have to spend on Kickstarter for any comic, because it's expensive to do this stuff. So
I mean, I thought it came
Yeah.
across, but I'm a prestigious reviewer, right? And I know
True,
things, and I
very
pick up
true.
things, right? I have like a third eye, inner sense for good comic booking. No, you'd have to be blind not to pick it up and have
Nice.
fun with these stories. Even if you don't like totally latch to a story, it's got so much to appreciate. Like, and I also can't, like, it's hard not to find something to latch onto in this series, especially like we start off with like memories and that's this new deal, right? Like the actual ThoughtScape comic, like, we live in this new world. What is sacred anymore, man? Like, we put everything out there. Like, what is sacred? And one of the last true sacred things we have are our memories, right? And even then, they're not perfect. They can get contaminated. We remember them wrong. And you have developed this narrative of like, it's been like monetized and farmed like fucking wheat and corn, right? And of course it gets crazy, and of course it's got religious nut jobs in outer space, like,
Right.
fuck yeah. And I love how that went from like a chill philosophical cerebral piece to fucking 14 out of 10 Slaughterfest Wild West shootout in a spaceship. Like, oh man, and it works so
Nice.
well. Like I said, and so like that, I'm super stoked for that. I'm glad that you've got like 8 parts to it. Like, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And I did want to ask, and I don't want to bring up like bad news.
Oh, no, that's fine.
But on that screen there was the Scout Life Formed, which
Yes.
was initially, that was their like rocket ship title, right? Where like the one issue comes out and then the trade comes out a few months later. That trade still, is it come out yet?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I do not know what the status of that is, and I guess that's the most political answer I can give. I'm waiting to hear back, and it's been a while. So,
because I was gonna buy it, because I won't lie, and I'm justified in this, because I bought volume 1 and volume 2 when we set up our interview used, right? And volume 1 isn't in the best of shape. Volume 2 is okay. Volume 1's not in the best of shape. And I was like, oh, I'll buy the new Scout one when it comes out. And then, I tried. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, if you, this is a good chance.
Cool that issue still came out though. Like, you did the one, that it had a couple variants, and that was in shops, and that was exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We got a new cover from Cassie, which was cool, and there's some back matter in there that is kind of fun, some process stuff. So yeah, hopefully that will.
Scouts are never going to talk to me again. I just shit the bed on all that.
I mean, maybe me too.
You're like, I wish they would. No, I'm sorry.
Just
kidding, ladies and gentlemen.
No, hopefully. I mean, the pandemic threw tons and stuff.
Oh
out
yeah,
of whack.
and then like there's been hurricanes and craziness, and the world's falling apart.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not all comic books. I wish it was.
Exactly.
Nice.
If only. Yep. But yeah, no, this is a good time to get my remaining copies of the Dark Horse printings of those books are what I'm selling here. So, so those are, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
they're
6
by 9.
They're digest size, but they're also like they're
right.
like 220 pages. So it is. Yeah, it's very like manga like, except it's got the weighted Western glossy pages, and it's in color, and it's different. But it's very good. And you should buy it. Like, with you should get all 3 volumes. You should get the 2 life forms, and then go ahead and get the life formed single issue cover. Like, what are you going to use your money? It's tax season. File your taxes real quick and splurge a little on the ThoughtScape crowdfunder. I mean,
always better to file early anyway. Like, get it.
Yeah,
get
you
it
get
out
it. You get it out of the way, and it's crazy how much. Like, in a week, you get like, and then like a week for federal and a week and a half for state if you file early. Like, you get your money so fast. And the good thing about getting your money fast is you can spend it faster, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what we're here to do: is spend money, or try to, anyways, for Matt's awesome campaign. But anyways, yeah. So live formed again. I know I suck, and you're like, Blake, yeah, I'm really glad you like live form, but there's this comic that I'm trying to sell right now, buddy. But yeah, ThoughtScape is again, like, I can't first of all, I was impressed with myself when I wrote the review, because I came up with the line kaleidoscopic mind fuck. And I never thought I would see that quote like retweeted so many times, like, on the internet. Like, I'm like, man, like, everybody knows I said that's that. And like when I did the bullfighter comic and said it was like doing an 8-ball of really good cocaine, and Stephen Prince loves to tell people about that, and he put it on the back of his his graphic novel, and all of my friends, like, when I showed them that, and they were all like, I can't believe you said that about a comic book. I was like, why not? And then they're like, and he put that on his book, and I was like, yeah. I was like, it's awesome.
It helps, man. It all helps.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, and I mean, just like, you know, I think I have there's a lot of things people can say about me, but I also think that, like, I have I'm decent at branding, and people know, like, when I get excited about a comic book, like, I mean it, especially when it's a Kickstarter, because, like, there's a lot of Kickstarter right now. There's so much. It's like a fucking Royal Rumble of Kickstarter all the time. And like, who do I hit with a chair and who do I back? Right. And because you can't, like, you can't afford everything. And so, like, to stand out is really hard. And, you know, like, it's real easy to hit a retweet button, but to, like, be familiar with the product and let people know. And so, like, I feel like a lot of my audience, like, knows that, like, when I say, like, fuck around with this, they should probably find out about this, and
totally.
But that is unfortunately what's going on right now. Is, we're seeing a lot of indie publisher turmoil, and the publishing scene is a whole different world right now. And crowdfunding seems to be, even though it's stressful, even though it's not guaranteed, even though, there's a lot of different elements to it, that's one of the safer platforms for publishing now. Like, if you can raise the money, you can fucking do it. Right? Like, unless you just, like, run off with the money, which has happened. And but I mean, like, it's kind of hard. The worst you can do is, like, cheap out on shipping and piss off people like me. And because I will, like, it's aggravating. And but you ship well too. I've bought your comics before. So what do you think stands out about ThoughtScape Comics on to what's Kickstarter right now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, we were talking about the art, and I think that everybody, like, I guess, like you said, like, comic publishing especially is strange right now. Like, there's no, we've got crowdfunding, and you've got the variety of folks involved in that, is everybody from people doing their first comic to people doing, like, comics after they've published stuff with the major companies,
or releasing omnibuses of stuff that they've already like, it's a wild place now.
It's totally wild. And so, like, you've got so it's a great place, I think, to both, like, learn how to make comics and put them out at the same time, which is important. But I hope with ThoughtScape, it's like a package that if you got it from Image, you would think that it was Image worthy, right? Like, you wouldn't blink if this was like an Image book. You wouldn't blink if it was a Dark Horse book. Like, that would be my goal with it. And that's why, I guess, like, the art's so important to me. And I don't know, like, I don't know. It sounds like, when you do a job interview and you give like some ingenuous answer or ingenuine answer about what your foible is, right? But like I get like I I guess like I don't think that I've got a critic that would be like more hard on me than I am on myself before I send
Yeah.
something to Carl. Like I don't want Carl, or Dave or Tyrell or anybody to get something and go like, oh, Matt kind of dropped the ball this time. Like that would like break me, right? Like I want Carl to get it and just go like, oh yeah, let's
Like, I'm
go.
excited to draw
Yeah,
this.
like
Yeah.
let's get going. And I want those folks to be excited. I feel like everybody that I work with is of a really high caliber, art wise, and like I'm trying to push myself so that if they want to push themselves, they can, and if they want to just do what they do well, they can. So I don't know. I hope that all comes across that like we're having a good time and we're trying to like push ourselves into new areas, because that's why I wanted to do the book in the first place, was to learn to work. Like working with Cassie was amazing, and I learned almost everything from that experience of doing those two Lifeform books. But I really wanted to learn how to work with other folks and do a diverse, or have a diverse portfolio of stuff. So that was important to me. And then I wanted to apply what I do in my day job and have been doing since I was like 15, which is laying out pages and printing stuff. I left printing for a while,
killing
but
aliens and trying to
yeah,
rescue children
right. That
in
too.
the after times of the invasion.
Yes. So like, yeah, so I mean, I wanted to put together like, in like 2000 AD being sort of the model, Twilight Zone being sort of the model, is I want you to be able to come back to this stuff and like, especially with the way my brain works post pandemic, like if I was just a ThoughtScape reader, I would be needing to reread each volume before I got to
Yeah.
the next, when the latest one came. And
Yeah.
I want that to be like a good experience that you want to go back to that stuff, and you want to pick out stuff in the art that's new, and you want to pick up on some new little idea that was there, or you want to see one of the, we've got lots of like satirical ads a la RoboCop and Starship Troopers and stuff. And like, I want you to be able to pick something new out of that every time. And have like a compelling reread, because when I was growing up, I just read the crap out of every issue of everything I had,
Yeah.
and picked up everything from it. And so I guess that's what I hope sets these apart, is that you can go back to them again and again, and that there is quality in both the concepts and the writing and the art. That your package holds together, because it's like a nice, perfect bound book.
I wanted to bring that up because of what
Yeah.
Milton posted here too, because it
Yeah.
is printed very nice. It's that David Byrne, he called it something. It's like a soft touch cover, but I called it like a sensual something. I made it weird, but I
Okay.
thought, but it's like it's got that, like, volume 1 anyway had like the soft
Yeah.
touch and spot gloss, or the sensual glide,
Yeah.
whatever kind of cover you want to call it. If sensual glide sells more issues, we can call it that. But like Milton said, it's printed very well, and I like that perfect bound. So I like perfect bound, but you risk it sometimes, right? If you do a lot of double page spreads, you got to like
Yes. Yeah.
you'd have to like put it right in the middle of the collection, or because if it's at like the beginning or end, you're gonna lose some gutter space and area.
Yep.
But you have some like bigger panels and some nice splashes, but like you're in that right kind of format to where like the perfect bound works perfectly, and like it's just it's really not like, I noticed that when like you get like a brand new trade, or sometimes like a stiff hardcover deluxe edition, like sometimes they don't open as well as they should, and sometimes like some pages are stuck together closer to the spine because of glue issues when you mass manufacture stuff, right? Like, so shit happens. But the perfect bound for this collection was like the best choice ever. Like, now is that, because I know it like folds and bends things differently, and the glue's different, but like also like 3 staples for every print job starts to add up to an extent too. Like, is the perfect bound, like, is the reason we don't see that a lot because it's a little bit more. Is it a lot more expensive or a little bit more expensive? Or
I don't like. It's not. It's a little more expensive because I remember that the reason I did it, I wasn't necessarily planning on doing that for the first volume, but we made a little bit more than we were asking for, and with the printer that I'd ended up selecting, they had it as an option and it was affordable enough, just a little bit of a bump to do it that way. And I actually had one of my friends and also a podcast host who I was talking to, and I knew that he loved stuff in the perfect bounds so that it could go like on his bookcase and you could see the spine and everything. And I was like,
yeah,
okay, we've got enough to do this. And Matt will think, another Matt will think this is cool. So let's just do it. And I think like it was way more, there's a little bit of like, measuring math you have to do to like get the spine height or get the spine width right and everything. So I was way more nervous about that than I was like the little incremental bit of money that was there. But
now, do you
yeah,
hire someone to do that, or do you do that?
No, I do all that. I spend most of my days doing design work in one way or another. So I have all the tools and everything. And yeah, I mean, part of this for me is the control freak aspect. Like I want to be able to get I got my friend John who did all the branding for ThoughtScape. And gave me like all these awesome elements to use. So then I can take all those graphic design elements and decide how I want to put them on the pages and lay them out and everything.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's just all the production stuff is sort of an extension of that. It's a little nerve wracking because like sending, I've been working on the web for so long that now, you make an error, you just upload a new file and correct it. But sending it off to print and then not knowing for like 12 weeks is a little bit dicier. But I worked on the first issue and I'm planning to work on second and third if we make it with a company called Print Ninja, which they are awesome and super helpful. And like they, I've got lots of stuff that like kind of overlaps the margins and does all this stuff intentionally. And like they're always like they were double checking with me the first time out. Like, you want this to bleed, right? I'm like, yes, that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like kind of messed up and we're looking at stuff. So they're a great partner on that stuff. I highly recommend them. And they also were the only ones that offered the sort of like high quality uncoated paper stock that I used on the first one, which is I'll do it for all the rest of them too. And I wanted like that comfortable feel, like I used to like, I came from the 80s where we, before we knew we could collect them and make money from them, possibly, we just folded them up and put them in our back pocket, right? All our comics. So yeah, I wanted that, like, it's pliable. It's a nice, like, comfortable read. I'm not a huge, like, in some cases it works fine and everything, but like I'm not a huge fan of glossy and inner stock, on actual.
Yeah,
comics.
I'm hit and miss on it. Yeah. I don't like the moisture wrinkles that come equipped with most of the time that happens.
Yep, totally. So I'm way more a fan of like I kind of like the way it ended up being in the way that I then sort of conceptualized it was like the late 80s DC prestige stuff where it's kind of pre-Vertigo, but they did like Cosmic Odyssey and some of these other like books where it was like 4 issues, the way they did Dark Knight Returns originally, like perfect bound, a nice pliable cover, etc. I mean, yeah,
dry as a bone. like I want dust to be flying around. I need particulates, dry particulates. Okay, none of that.
Well, definitely that. Definitely
I mean, like when you step in the room, it like takes your breath away for different reasons. Like it's like stepping into an airlock, right? Like it's like an Event Horizon. You gotta curl up in a ball and breathe all the air out of your lungs and close your eyes real tight and jump from one airlock door to the other. That's what I need, and that's what I need cover to cover. John Westhoff. Anyways, but yeah, so I'm glad you're sticking with that because that's a bummer in direct market. I love DC and I love buying like DC hardcovers and omnibuses. It's so funny now that like when they like purposefully change the spines and the dust jacket styles and like and I don't understand because it's not like they like release volume 3 and 3, 4, and 5 have new Dust Jacket styles, and right after that they release 1, 2, and 3. You know, it's not like they have this matching set out at one time. They're just like, I think they do it because, and Marvel does it too now. Like, I kind of think they do it as just like you're gonna buy it anyway. You know, like I kind of like, it's so funny. I'm not a spine slut, right? Like I'm cool if my, you know, it looks okay, but like my stuff's a mess anyway. And like, you know, the first run I bought of when I got into like graphic novel collecting and finding those like huge, big sweeping arcs that we don't get anymore, unfortunately, really, was like the Grant Morrison's Batman. And I really liked that run. I read Batman Incorporated. I got obsessed with Damian Wayne, right? And then when he died, spoiler alert, Damian Wayne died and he came back, but it's fine. This happened like, God, this happened when
20 years ago.
Yeah. And, but you know, I was so into it, and then I found out like Grant Morrison had like decades of Batman writing, and then like the amazing Batman and Robin with Dick Grayson as Batman and Damian as Robin, and so like I bought all that, and I wanted it all in hardcover, right? And so like everything I could get in hardcover, out of print be damned. What, you know, like I was like, I'm getting it. But when you put it on the shelf all together, it's a mess. It's like everything's different sizes. Some things are hardcover, some things are paperback because they only were released as trades. And so, you know, they eventually it's like, do you want the shit or not? Because you just got to put up with it. So there's so many things to get disappointed about in comics. How my spines look on the shelf isn't one of them. Like, you know, I was like, I'm just not going to go into that dark territory, but I'm still glad that you decided to retain the same format, retain the perfect bound. I think that's another thing that sets this comic book apart from its, I almost said predecessors, from its competition, from other sci-fi books that are coming out in stores right now, is that perfect bound, the good way it feels. You know, the art pops, everything's great. It's just like, it doesn't feel, it's a very nice, you know, like you know your way around print settings. It feels like, you know, and the final product was really good. And that's another bummer that we don't get a lot in stores right now, right? Because it's like, you know, how many maximum amount of copies, cheapest amount of price. You know, DC still does card stock for an extra $1 now. But you know, stuff like that's just, you know, it's becoming extinct. And even on Kickstarter, there's been some comics I really liked, and I like the notion of like 40 to 50 page, like these bigger Kickstarter comics, right? And then, you know, then when you ask the extra money, right, you're like, you're getting quite a bit, you're getting almost 2 issues in 1 issue, right? Because the ads in yours are fabricated, like you wrote them and made them and got artists to do pinups and stuff. Like, it's not like we're getting like, you know, ads in a Marvel or DC book,
right.
And so I just it's a very beautiful comic. And when you get these 3 comics together, like we were saying, you could put them on the shelf. Like they're going to have spines. The spines have titles on them. They'll slide in on the shelves. You should bag and board them, though. You shouldn't just stick them on a comic book shelf. I don't know. I bagged and boarded mine. I feel like that was the right thing to do.
Buy 2 copies and bag and board 1.
Yeah, put it away in the box.
Yeah. Yep. They do hold up. I had one just like, you know, for my reference when I'm writing other stuff. I have the first one kind of by me, just sitting on the desk, like bookshelf style, and it's held up for a couple of years. So I think, no,
did I get sidetracked like 45 minutes ago when I was telling a story about why I liked you over other Kickstarter creatives?
I'm not sure.
I think I did.
Did you?
I think I did, because I don't know if I said this earlier. Sorry, but I think I forgot to say this. When I was talking about your Zoop campaign and when it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And like the next day you like DM'd me and you were like, I'm going to hit you up in a few months. We're coming back and like, we're going to do things differently. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like not even like 24 hours. Like I would have, you know, like I would get bummed. Like I've already been found myself in a circumstance where something didn't happen, and I was like, got real excited, and then stupidly
Yeah.
told a bunch of people about it, and now learn that you don't do that, right? You like wait till you get like the comps in the mail, and then you're like, I have a
Right,
comic book
right.
coming out in
Yeah.
shops next week. But you know, like that got me like I would have gotten really bummed. It's because I just can't like all the work that goes into a Kickstarter campaign before it succeeds. You
Yeah.
know, the press, the social media presence, you know, if you're not on social media a lot, you got to kind of be for the next 30 days. You know, that's like kind of one of the necessary things. Doing anything you can to get out there, and then so yeah, to like try really hard on a new format, thinking, you know, and then like when it didn't happen, I was real bummed, you know, like I was like, fuck, man, like I was rooting for it, and then I was so excited like that next day when you were like, fuck, man, ThoughtScape's not over, like it's gonna happen, and I was just like, yeah, you know, like there's a very cool moment for me that I think
Nice.
about sometimes, like when I not like dude, I like a shit you not, man, like when I get like down about shit, or you know, when the metrics aren't as good as you want them to
Yeah.
be, or you know, and I think about that sometimes, you know, and because there are some days where I was like, I miss just reading comics.
Yeah.
And now like when I read a comic book, like after I get done reading it, I'm like, I either got to tweet about it, write about it, post about it. I really should be making TikTok shorts about it and YouTube, you know, and it's just like all these things. And it's just like, I don't like doing that sometimes. And so sometimes I'm like, man, what, like if I was just like done with it and just read comics again. And for real, man, I was like, man, you know, like Matt said, fuck you, I'm not giving up. And I was like, you know, I got shit I want to do too. And I like, fuck you, I'm not giving up. And so anyways, like
Nice.
you've not like for real, man. Your attitude and excitement for this series, like literally pulled me out of a dark place and was inspiring. And so I really want this campaign to happen.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I don't know, the truth, I guess, of it is that you, I think, have to be relentless with this stuff if you want to make it happen. And yeah, so I think so. I'm glad to hear that it meant something to you, because I think that's you got to like you have to find the thing that means something to you and that makes it worth keeping it moving forward. And so like for me, this series is all about learning, and you know, I learn about myself when I write it. I learn about how to work with other artists and like really produce good work, and what that means. And so yeah, I think I don't know, just trying to like, you know, do that at the same time as not making what you're doing like so much a part of your identity that you get tanked by the hits, you know, because like sometimes the hits just keep coming. And like if we don't make it this time, I'm already thinking about like what am I, you know, how am I going to frame that to myself, I guess. So yeah, it's tough, but I mean, I don't know. I guess I love it too much to quit. Like it will continue in some way or another.
That's why it's so good though, is that reason right there. Because I think there's a lot of people privileged in any field, especially creative fields though. But I mean like sports, arts, prose literature, poetry, any kind of storytelling, you know, Hollywood, of course. Like there's so many people that like have great opportunities that don't appreciate them, or are burned out on them for other means, right? But they you know, a lot of times in this world, once you get an opportunity, it takes a lot to get it taken away from you sometimes. And so like, but I think that hunger and that drive, and that's why this book is so good, because you see that in all the stories. As we mentioned earlier, there's these like, so all right, so a lot of Kickstarter comics will have like pinups or cover galleries,
right?
Little things like that. I love that ThoughtScape has these really beautiful, fully realized pinups disguised as advertisements that also like totally critique our current way of thinking, living, being, and existing. Like, and each one is like so fucking smart and beautiful and cool looking, and and looks so different. I mentioned the same the first time we talked, like the title pages and the table of
Yeah.
contents and like the fonts you use and everything, the little questionnaire and the answers in the back, like all just these little itsy bitsy bits of extra content that like don't, if they weren't there, the comic would still be good.
Mhm.
Uh, Also, like they make the everything better. Like they just like these like little one one stop shop pages of like brief intermissions between these crazy stories.
Yeah.
What Where did that inspiration come from? Like what made you want to do that? Because that's costing you money, from art, from printing, from page count, and as a design person, like if you're laying all that out, like that's just a lot of extra work, which I think pays off. But what made you want to do that? Because that's not a normal thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I guess first of all is I I think I just love putting those together because they're so fun. I don't like, whereas the
So you're
stories
not
are,
stressing over it. You're like stoked when you get to those. You're
no,
like,
like
yeah,
I have like a backlog of those ads, right? Like, and so I mean, like, like when I'm out on a run or whatever, I just like ideas are just flying by. I'm like, that's not a story, but it could be an ad. And like,
nice. Okay.
it's, it's like because not every little, I was talking to, Cody from Keeping It Geekly, and he was
Mm.
like, Thoughtscape's kind of about like the micro transactions of like this future world and commoditization of thoughts. And I was like, oh, that's super cool, like micro transactions. So, but I mean, like, not every little micro transaction is worth a full story, but you can hint at it. Or maybe hidden a few of them in one page of an ad, just like when I was like 12 or 13 and RoboCop was blowing my mind with all the
Oh my
satire,
god.
just in those things. So a lot of it comes from that. And then I was also, as I was doing Thoughtscape, it was right in the like House of X, Powers of 10, X-Men run, and they were doing the data pages.
Yeah.
And then I was also reading Dune, and at the start of each Dune chapter, there's like a little, from the world, like little excerpt from some book that took place in the actual world, and it's like,
Oh
oh,
wow.
that's super cool. And then I was, like one of the first comics that blew my mind, in addition to Watchmen, which also kind of did this, was
Yeah, it had the novel excerpts at
yeah,
the
had like all the stuff at the back. Was Grendel by Matt Wagner, and that book like blew my mind as well when I was about the same age. And the whole first book of that, well, not the first comics, but the first time they kind of collected one of the stories, it was actually like a journalistic telling of the story. So it was like just big single images that were gorgeous, but then like told in a prose style. And so that always had a huge impact on me. Um, and so, yeah, it was kind of like all those things. And then I was also just thinking like, I want to have something that feels worth the, I don't know, like, and I wasn't even thinking about Kickstarter, I guess, when I first did this, but I wanted something that like tied the package together and felt like it helped justify the buyer's spend on this, right? Like, I wanted to
yeah.
be real immersive and like uh, a full world that you could like dive into, and that this seemed like a good way to do that. And it ended up working out super fun. And then like in issues or no, let's see. Yeah, issue 2 and issue 3, the front and the back matter, a writer friend of mine named George Pendle, who is fantastic and super funny, wrote the front and back matter for those.
Is he the one who does he do stuff on your Substack sometimes too?
Uh, No, we haven't done anything there yet, or we talked about it.
Oh,
We maybe
okay.
like
Maybe
talked
that,
about
I
doing
think
some
because
stuff.
the
Yeah.
last time he's the your yeah, okay, because you were gonna collab on something.
Yeah,
I
we
thought,
had,
right?
so
Okay.
he's basically been helping me build out this whole, yeah, we talked about this during the Zoop stuff. He's been helping me build out like a timeline for the whole Thoughtscape world universe, and some of the backstory. and just kind of like taking a bunch of the concepts and running with them, like as far as the Life Tech, the business that is, or the corporation that's sort of in charge of the Thoughtscape. He was coming up with a bunch of like crazy corporate history with, you know, conspiracies and murder plots and all sorts of fun stuff. So so George is awesome. He's a little bit like kind of funnier than I am. So like he wrote these just like super funny intros for the second, third issues. So just another way to like collaborate and pull somebody else into that and put another like super brilliant mind on like how could this stuff manifest. And yeah, it just feels like it informs the stories more, because you can be thinking about how they tie together, since the stories are just sort of loosely associated. They're not like, you know, one story doesn't necessarily have a character that shows up in another story, but they all take place in one world. And so having that world be sort of defined, I don't know, makes it more fun and more rich.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So another, and I've heard another. You talked about this on another show. The grieving story.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, man. Let me tell you about a undergraduate private school writing program English workshop I did one time, and this guy writes an essay about his aunt, who's like on life support in this room in this house, right? Like in this bed, like she's not moving, right? Like she's hooked up to machines and stuff. And like in this essay story, the now just because it was the narrator doesn't mean it was him, right?
Right.
But like in this story, this person like takes a pillow and suffocates the aunt, and because you know we can't euthanize people,
right?
People, and then like we read this, everybody thinks it's fiction, and so they're like workshopping it as a fiction piece, and he like says, and he's like yeah, it like happened that way though, and everybody just like froze, right? And it was just like, oh, this is a real story, like what? And of course, like you like I said, just because the narrator did it didn't mean the writer did it, but it was the craziest workshop experience I've ever had. And when I read the grieving piece, it like made me relive that. And I really liked the comic, but I did not like reliving that memory, because it was just like
that's wild.
The like being in the class and you're just like, and then after that, like everyone's like, oh yeah, no more thoughts. Like
we're all good.
That piece is ready to publish right now. You can just take that and get rid of it. So yeah, anyways, like that made me like relive this crazy undergrad moment of writing school, and I was like, wow. But it was like dark. So yeah, and so anyway, that was at Avila University. It was crazy. And so that whole deal of, again, like the monetization. God, I can't ever say that word. Monetizing euthanasia and death, and like recording it, and all these other things that happen in that story. Another thing that like we're not that, I just feel like we're not that far from it, right? Like oh, you are you too busy to go to your grandpa's funeral? Like strap on these goggles and like tune in while you're at work, like hang out in the funeral live chat, like post a comment, like Uncle Ted will answer him. He's gonna be hanging out, it's gonna be like this, but like you see like your grandpa's casket behind me, right? I feel like we're almost there. And the critique that you made with that, while also like being real like modest and respectful of the dead, like kudos to you, sir. Like that was such a good, smart, hard-hitting piece.
Thanks. Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones, is from, I guess, yeah, how it turned out. Felt like the script was good. Felt like Jacob and Leslie really nailed the art, and
Yeah.
yeah, felt like it really worked.
It's
And
so
it's cool. Like,
crazy
yeah.
how different all these pieces are. Sorry to interrupt you, but like
Oh, no
it's just
problem.
like
Yeah.
from like one moment to another. Was that hard, like organizing? You mentioned you were like a design nerd. Was it hard, like organizing from 1, 2, and 3? Obviously the serialized ones like have to come first, like the
Yeah.
thoughts, like the title comic, but like deciding like what to put where, what follows what, like was that like a real hard decision for you?
It's not too hard. Like, I kind of, I have like the sort of transition pages between each one. It's like a little title page. It's really
Mm-hmm.
simple. That just says the title of the story and who did the art and that kind of stuff. So I kind of built in that mechanism to make it like have be a pretty stark, almost black page before you start each story, to sort of reset. But I guess the challenge does come when it's like a lot of a lot of the last pages of a story will be facing an opposing page where I need to put an ad, one of the fake ads, basically. And so, like, picking the right one to go there,
Oh yeah, because you can
yeah,
just like kill the mood or annihilate the momentum you got.
yeah, you can like you can accentuate it, you can annihilate it, you can, yeah. So I mean, I think that's yeah, I think that's a little bit of a challenge, and I guess I was seeing that more with issue 2 and 3, because like I've got, I don't know, like the first one, I kind of like it all came together pretty organically, and I knew where my open pages were when I was designing it, and so I knew what I was sitting right next to page wise. But with this one, it's been a little bit more like, oh, I'm going to try this ad next to this instead of this, and see if that like sings a little bit better. And like I don't, if there's a story with an android in it, I might not necessarily want to put an Android ad right after it, because it might feel a little too on the nose or something. I want to move that like later on, or maybe I want it on the nose. So yeah, it's all just part of the fun of it, I guess. It's like figuring out the juxtapositions of that stuff. Yeah, it gives me lots to do when I'm, I don't know, it gives me a lot to perseverate over when I'm trying to, um, yeah, I don't know, wrap up the project.
You mentioned Starship Troopers earlier.
Yeah.
Which is another movie that has like those genius like fake advertisements, like like you think pro war, right?
Yeah.
Till you like watch a couple of those fucking advertisements. I haven't I'm like a blasphemer, right? Like I've heard that the book is very good, and I heard it's like really influential sci-fi. Like have you read, is the novel like, have you read it? Like does that
I have not.
All
I'm
right, so
pretty light
we
on
can
my
still just
Heinlein.
love the
Yeah.
movie and be cool. No, and be cool people.
Yep. No, I'm pretty. I haven't dug too much into his stuff yet. It's sort of on my list of things to do. Hey, puppy. But yeah, I did go got into the Philip K. Dick books a lot the last couple years, so that's been sort of my
Nice,
sort of deep dive.
dude.
Yeah,
I'm obsessed with him. He's
dude,
amazing.
he was doing all this stuff we're talking. I mean, he was doing everything that everybody's doing, but doing it 60 years ago and doing it
Yeah,
better than any of us.
and then they make
So
movies out of like everything he did.
yeah,
So,
and,
so there's this dude. Stop. There's this. Oh my god. He was so good. He was so, I knew it would happen. It's funny, like people have like cats come in their like stream sometimes, and the cat like stumbles across them. Everybody's like, oh, look at this cat. My dog's like, I'm gonna knock over a microphone, I'm gonna spill things on your comics, I'm gonna knock over your ice cube cup. Anyways, yeah, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, so ThoughtScape Comics. Oh, Philip K. Dick is what we were talking about. I thought I almost lost it for a second. I was
right.
like, I remembered we were talking and there was loud noises and I got distracted and saw a butterfly. Okay, so there's this like rumor that Phil, I call him Phil because we know each other. there's this rumor that he was writing like short stories and essays and not getting published, and nothing was going right for him. And one night he wrote about seeing this magenta like light in the sky, and he like saw it for hours and it did things to him. And then after that he did stuff like Blade Runner and fucking Minority Report and like all these crazy oh, we got someone talking about of course Milton's a real one. Milton's hanging out for the long run.
Yeah.
I've
got Valis on deck. Milton.
I got the American Library hardcovers that like I really like them, but they have like the Bible thin pages, but they're like little hardcovers, and they have like they're like this thick but have like 1,000 pages. It's crazy. But I have the Raymond Carver one and I have the Philip K. Dick ones. It's like this the Phil has a trilogy. Here's another funny Blake Morgan story. This is a loose sci-fi story. I was taking this sci-fi lit class at UMKC in grad school, and it was awesome. And I really liked this professor, Dr. Shu, and he was awesome. And he gave me the first manga I'd ever seen, and I only read a couple pages of it and never really read it. But he it was called The Eagle, and it was about like this American president spy person. And I tried to, it was like the first time I'd ever seen manga. I didn't really know about it. And so like, anyways, he did a lot of lit classes at UMKC, and he did this sci-fi class, and we were doing Blade Runner, and it was the first time I'd read Blade Runner, and I was like, holy shit, like this is like, or it was Do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep is what we read, which was made into Blade Runner. Wow, I'm really selling my literature prowess here. But so like it like really opened my mind, and it was so like to like teach that in a grad level college class and like get to do like the lit discussions and stuff was like fucking gnarly. And I was like, he really got me into Philip K. Dick, and so I bought the trilogy of the American Library editions. I had it in my backpack because like Amazon delivered it right before I left for school. So there was a time in my life where I helped people alleviate their stress problems by helping them, find plant-based means to chill. Right. And I had some of that in my backpack, and Dr. Shu, I was about to go into like Dr. Shu's class, and I was like excited. And I was like, hey, Dr. Shu, like check out this, like look what Amazon just delivered. And I hand it to him, and he takes the trilogy, and he was like, oh, I love, and he like quit talking and like brought it to his nose and sniffed it. And he was like, yeah, I like these books. He handed them back to me, and I was like, oh no, like oops. And so yeah, anyways. Nice. That was, and somehow he still respected me as a student after that went on. But yeah, man, it ended up really like a bunch of us were creative writers, like in the creative writing part, and we all like wrote this like email to him, and we were like, hey, what if like instead of writing an essay about science fiction at the end of the class, what if we like took all these things we learned and tried to write our own science fiction story, and like why, and include like a short piece about why we did stuff. And that, so anyways, that was one of the coolest parts of grad school. Is the science fiction
that sounds awesome.
And it made me I wrote an okay time travel story, but it like made me want to get better at science fiction too. Like, but it was also really intimidating because like that whole notion of like, it has to seem alien and also like lure you in to its familiar, like it has to be familiar simultaneously, which is like it doesn't make sense, but it does. Because that's like the curse of good genre fiction. Horror has to do the same thing. Like horror can't just scare you; it like has to make you laugh and feel stuff. And science fiction does too. Like science fiction isn't just the spectacle. It's not just like all these planets, all these robots, all these crazy guns, all these crazy little children bots that murder your parents, right? It has to be more than that. And then it has to it has to show us a new way of thinking and remind us of an old way of thinking simultaneously. And so for anybody to just be like, I'm going to write sci-fi all the time, that's just insane, because that just sounds exhausting. And you just keep batting out of the park. You're just knocking these balls over the fence, slaying it. I've been watching the numbers on your campaign. I'm really mad at my followers right now for not I think we got you one.
We got
backer.
one more. Yeah, we got one more.
One backer. You guys are making me look bad, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm kidding. Actually, I'm not. My mom successfully used guilt trips for Still Now and is still great at it. So guilt trips are a sufficient way of trying to do these kicks. And I see this now on a lot of Twitters and social media platforms. It's you have to formulate things as a question, because it's all about engagement, right? That's this new word now that sucks, that you got to fucking think about when you do stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's when you formulate things as a question, you're why aren't you following my YouTube channel?
Right.
What do I have to do to get you to look at my campaign page? Why are you not reading ThoughtScape Comics? And for me, sometimes it's I want to ask those things, but I don't,
yeah,
I want someone else to ask those things for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think
why we need, and this is what I want to move into, and this is why we need artificial intelligence to make our art, comics, and daily decisions. All right, this is my hot take. No, I'm kidding. I don't. It was a joke. It was a joke. I don't think that's good at all. Even.
No. Yeah. No. It's a strange time, I think. But yeah, it definitely feels like things should be able to sell themselves a little bit more, rather than everybody groping for engagement, I suppose.
Groping for engagement. I'm about to make that a t-shirt.
That's probably make more money
on my TeePublic site, ladies and gentlemen. Groping for engagement.
Yeah, it's a little sad. I think that's one of the I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons Carl was not really down with sticking on the Twitter and stuff. So, which I feel completely. It's not super fun.
Yeah, it's crazy. If someone and I got way overly mad about it, and way I got way up all my own bullshit when someone tried to tell me that they were what you do isn't review writing.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And for some reason, I was ready to die on that hill of I am a comic book reviewer, right? I was like, this is where this is the battle I'm gonna fight. And this is why. That's why I lived 37 years on this planet, was to fight this battle right now. And it was whatever. But it is funny that if those reviews that are it's real negative ones get so much attention, even when it offends people, right? They're I can't believe this person said that. And then they'll buddy, please. And they'll stop and they'll get on Twitter and they'll be I can't believe this person posted this review. I love at Tom Taylor's writing or something. Right. And they're they're trying to be nice about it, but they're also really hope you see all this bad shit this person wrote about you, dude. And and so it's just Twitter it's this weird negative space, and you can get rewarded for negativity, which is why this dude acts like he does right now, because he please, he he gets rewarded for bad behavior, and he's been really good all day until just this moment right
He's
now.
fine.
It's
He
so
doesn't.
good.
He doesn't have any idea what all this sci-fi is about.
Yeah.
Thankfully
He's
for
like,
him.
yeah. I'm on Earth. I do like 5
Right.
things. They all involve like being spoiled as fuck. Anyways, dude, you are throwing me off my game, bro.
Oh, no problem. No, I mean, I think like, yeah, I mean, we're talking about the sci-fi of it all, and like we're already to a lot of these dark places that, that maybe in some cases we should back away from. I think, for sure. So, yeah,
especially in regards to social media,
yeah,
and having and adopting dogs. Like that's the slippery slope. That's
yes.
the slippery slope that you can't. Jesus Christ, that you can't stop.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bruce's first time on air. As you can tell, he has no. Your tail's in my drink. You're on the live stream. You don't even read.
Look at him. He's so disappointed.
I know. He's like, so, dude. This is probably gonna be my most watched stream ever of like this mess with Bruce. But yeah. Anyways, we have gone almost an hour and a half, and I feel like I've convinced people enough of why they should interview other people, or be interviewed by other people. Sorry, not you're a great guest. I have a thing or two to learn. So anyways, real quick, let's just put you on the spot right now.
Yep.
Why are you backing? Why are you spending the money on 3 physical editions of ThoughtScape issue 1, 2, and 3? Hit them with it.
Yeah, I will hit you with it. Yeah. So you should do this because you can hold these books in your hands. You can sit on the couch for a couple hours, I would say, and really parse through this, read these one time, check out the stories, really get a good hit there, and then go back, look at the beautiful art, check out the advertisements inside. They're really comfortable to hold, and then afterwards you can put them up on your shelf and you can revisit them hopefully when the 4th issue comes out. If we can make this one happen, then I've got a real good shot, I think, at getting the 4th issue out toward the end of the year. So we can get on kind of like a quarterly schedule. That's part of my goal.
Nice.
And pulling this off. And these are already done. Like the art's all done on all these. It's just down to me like finishing up some of the ads that we've talked about.
Yeah,
packaging
it's gonna
it up,
happen.
getting it
You're
to
gonna get the product if the funds.
Yeah. I mean, like I could, the digital versions of this, if I wanted to distribute them before, which I don't. I want to kind of do it all in one drop, but they'll be ready to go. The issues are ready to go. The 4th issue is even ready to go. So if we can make this a success, we're setting up some really good groundwork for the 4th issue to just kind of come out with maybe a really fast campaign, not do the whole month thing because that's kind of brutal. And
really? You're going to speed it up?
Well, maybe. I mean, like if every campaign has like a week and a half long dead zone in the middle of it, I don't really see the point of the long campaigns. So, but we'll worry about that later. But yeah, so issue 4 is ready to go. Issue 5's even like mostly written. So our goal, so you do that, and then you're also supporting us in getting like on track and getting this thing out on a regular basis, or as much as you can expect to be regular in the indie comics realm. So that'd be my pitch. And amazing art. If you do nothing else, go follow all my artistic collaborators.
Yes,
because they're awesome. And go listen to the ThoughtScape Comics podcast, where you can find interviews with most of them. So that's it. It's all good.
It's all very good, ladies and gentlemen. I'm like, for real, when I got volume 1 in my hands, it seems so long ago. But I mean, Blake's Buzz isn't even 2 years old yet, so it's not like it's maybe like a year. Is it a year?
Probably like a year and 4 months or something like that. It would feel
so like a little over a year. Like I read this a long time ago, and it got me. Like it really did. It snagged me in, and it entranced me. When I said that, the old kaleidoscope quote,
Yes.
the kaleidoscope of fuckery. Basically, like when you take a glance down that, but for real, like when you open this comic book and you look in its pages, there's not many other books that take you to these kinds of places and that make you, physically for a moment feel that you're in a different place. And it does feel like traveling through time and traveling through the weirdness that the future is ready to bring us. And this comic like brings these like really visceral emotions to the surface on top of just being like really wild like sci-fi romps, just like these quick hitting shorts in a 50th page one shot. And that deserves your money. You should give Matt Lowery your money, ladies and gentlemen. I told you this before, and you didn't give him enough money. And I'm telling you this again in hopes that you give him the right amount of money this time. Because if we lived in a world where I got a quarterly ThoughtScape comic, that's a better year. That's a better year, right? If Trump gets reelected next year, but I get 4 ThoughtScape comics throughout that, I can live with it. I can live with it.
ThoughtScape will get real dark if that happens. But, yes, I agree that it would be a better world for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, it's always such a pleasure to talk to you. And
hey, likewise.
Thank you for putting up with my bullshit. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Sorry about my dog. That was a new thing we haven't experienced yet on the Blake's Buzz podcast.
It's a first.
Usually he there's other people in the house to distract him, and today there wasn't. Anyways, you guys sure like it when I post pictures of him. So when he hops in to lick my face during the podcast and I forget what I'm talking about, that should be great content too. Matt, real quick, I'm sure a lot of our viewers know already, but just in case. And is that him squeaking the goddamn toy? It is. Oh man. I'm so sorry. Anyways, where's a good place on the social medias to find you?
So you can go to ThoughtScapeComics.com and there's links to all my social stuff there. I'm Matt Mair Lowery, Matt ML PDX, at both Instagram and Twitter, and ThoughtScapeComics.com, and the campaign is at ThoughtScape2023.com.
Nice. And you have a Substack too, right?
Yeah, Substack is mattmlpdx.substack.com.
He's got a lot of places to find him, ladies and gentlemen, which you should. All right, so that's it. Everybody back ThoughtScape Comics. Adopt a dog, I guess, and live the dream like I am. You give them a new life. They say, they really appreciate everything you do for him. No, I love that. I love that little fucking weirdo. But he's so, oh god, he's the weirdest dog. He's the weirdest dog we've ever had. He does the weirdest. He digs, dude. He digs like a feral animal. Like this city just rebuilt. They rebuilt our. We have this gas line that runs in our backyard. They like tore down part of our fence and did all this shit to our backyard. And they just built us this like fucking 8-foot privacy fence. And it's like beautiful. He fucking dug under it and got out the other day. Like we have like castle walls around our fucking like not great neighborhood house now. And he saw a cat and just was like, boom. And I was like, dude, he's like Sonic the Hedgehog. It's insane. Anyways, wow. It's so fucking nuts. It keeps it popping, right?
Yep.
He hates when I read comics and play on my phone. Oh, dude, it's like when I have my phone out, he'll try and knock my phone out of my hand. He's like, you can pay attention to me, and I got this fucking new tablet now, and I'm like reading comics, and I always have to like grab it and protect it because I'm like he tries to step on it. He's a dick. Anyways. That's what it's like having a dog. I hear cats are fun too. Like they knock water off. They're great for internet videos and stuff. Like I don't know.
Yes.
The ones I see on TikTok look great. Ladies and gentlemen, this was an impromptu episode of Blake's Buzz Live. Hopefully you enjoyed this material, and I really hope you check out ThoughtScape Comics issues 1 through 3 and some of the really awesome add-ons you can get. Please check out the campaign. It needs a little bit of love, but it doesn't just need it, it fucking deserves it. Matt, you're cool people, good people. I love your attitude about comics. I love the way you create science fiction, and the world's a better place for having you in it. That's just what I feel.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you
All
for
right.
doing all this.
Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. People that were in the chat tonight, thank you so much. Matt, unless you have anything else to say, I'm gonna roll the credits.
No, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Dude, it was a blast. Love talking to you.
I love talking to you.
It's Blake's Buzz Live.